Hey, what's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Nick Wood's Digital Landlords course. Now, Nick and I have learned this rank and rent lead generation business model from the same program. I joined this program back in 2014, and I believe Nick joined around 2016. We learned it from Dan, and here's some screenshots of Nick being interviewed by Dan and myself as well. Around 3-4 years ago, Nick decided to start his own program while I was like the main coach of the previous program. And in 2025, I also decided to launch my own brand new community and coaching program. And I'm going to talk about the differences between my new way of teaching this model versus Nick. We teach it in a slightly different way. So I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons of the way in which he teaches it and even the pros and cons of this business model in of itself. One thing Nick talks about all the time is that there's a lot of coaches out there that haven't actually done the business model. They just are teaching the model, which I can understand and respect. There's a lot of coaches out there that are just selling info. But just like Nick, I'm also somebody that was a top student in the previous community, and I've built and ranked hundreds of these local lead gen sites. So I also know a lot about this business model from first-hand experience. Here's some screenshots of Nick in our previous community back in 2016. He's asking some questions about this business model. The first point I want to talk about is how Nick talks about the art of pre-selling. Nick claims that building and ranking the site and waiting for the site to rank takes way too long. You should actually be actively selling and pre-selling the lead gen site, which by the way, we teach as well, but this requires a lot more sales and it requires people that are not afraid of getting rejected by business owners. You're basically proactively cold calling or cold emailing business owners to pitch a lead gen solution for their business without even building and ranking a site first. And if you get a business owner interested, what you're going to do is you're going to run AdWords so that they start getting leads right away. And while you're running the AdWords, you're going to build and rank a site organically so that you can eventually, once the site ranks after 3 months, you can taper down the ad spend and you have now a website generating leads for that business owner. Now, I've done this method of closing business owners many times before as well. As long as you're willing to approach many business owners, you will eventually get somebody to say yes. But again, this is a very sales heavy approach, and it might not be the best fit for everybody if you are not that comfortable cold calling or just talking to business owners straight out of the blue. You will face a lot more rejection, but if money is more important than facing rejection, then this is a great way to get your foot in the door and start getting paid as soon as possible. There are a few downsides to this approach. Because you're picking the niche and the city based off of what business owner says yes to you, oftentimes I find that you can find students going into markets or niches that are not so ideal. Maybe you go into plumber in XYZ type of city. And these days, I don't even teach my students to go into the plumbing niche because it tends to be too low ticket and too saturated. Or you're going into markets that are way too small. So in the long run, like you just built a site, you're gonna have to spend all this time building and ranking a site when that market wasn't even ideal to begin with. In my community, I have a whole new process of finding the right niche and the market to go into. These days, I only like to target high ticket niches, specifically in the home construction niche, where I get paid on commission. So one job can pay me $1,000. I can show you some of that commissions right now. So this is for a home construction company in Los Angeles, and this was a drywall drop ceiling job that paid me $1,000 in commission. This was a flooring job that paid me $900 in commission. This was a $400 commission for an electric gates job, and this is another $420 commission for a flooring job that we generated. And this is all from sites that I built just 3 to 6 months ago near the end of 2025, and I'm building more and more sites in 2026. Google SEO has changed quite a bit in recent years as opposed to 5 years ago. And I feel like Nick's method of SEO is a little bit outdated, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video. But as you can see, I have access to this client CRM. So these sites are just starting to crank out huge jobs. This was a $30,000 job, $14,000 job, and we got more estimates in recent few weeks. This company did $386,000 worth of estimates. And in my 11 years of doing this business model, I found that it's a lot easier to scale one elite company and get paid commission on much bigger ticket jobs as opposed to trying to get dozens and dozens of clients, $500, $600 a month. This is a roofing client where you can see this one job generated $1,000, $1,258 in commission. This was in Illinois. In California, we got $675 worth of commission from one job. But in order to rank for these higher ticket niches, like you actually need much higher level SEO, which is what I teach. Nick tends to teach the model of going after very low hanging fruit, oftentimes low ticket, low competition markets, which you can still make money in this business model. However, when a client's only paying you $500 a month, those clients tend to be a lot more difficult to force them to continue to pay. Because if you build a site in a city too small, these sites actually don't generate that many leads sometimes. And you may run into an issue where the client complains that they're not getting enough lead. Sure, you can be running AdWords, but remember, AdWords can get expensive. So when you're just running AdWords for a client, you're not making that much profit. Ultimately, this business model becomes powerful when you can actually build and rank quality sites in bigger city, bigger markets for lucrative keywords. And in order to do that, you're going to have more competition. You're going to need higher level SEO skills. Here's the type of sites that I see Nick and his students build, or sites like this. There's a towing site in St. George that I've seen straight from Nick's Facebook page. And this is the old template that my previous community was teaching way back in 2015. For a niche like towing, the site design might not match, but when you're talking about much higher ticket home construction niches like drywall, wood flooring, roofing, you actually need to build a really good looking site because Google is also tracking user behavior signals. If people land on your site and they don't stick around long because it looks very amateurish and it literally looks like just a lead gen site, people are not going to convert as well. Not as easy as it once was 10 years ago. Here's the latest video by Nick on his YouTube channel that was posted 4 days ago. So that was like February 2026. And this student's site here is a concrete site in St. George. I have the site pulled up right here. And how I teach this model now, like this would not really even fly if my students were able to build a site like this, because first of all, the site title is wrong. It only just has concrete contractors in St. George, Utah. It should have other keywords like driveway, patio, sidewalks, foundations. The fact that it doesn't have highly converting content at the above the fold is wrong. The fact that it doesn't repeat the business name in the first opening sentence is not good because Google is trying to identify brands. The fact that we see wall of text right from the top of the page is not good. This makes the site looks like just a straight lead gen site, and the keywords are just not in the right places at all. Again, more wall of text. These are a list of 150 lead gen sites that I've ranked in home construction Los Angeles area alone this year. You can take a look at one of my sites, Glendale Elite Concrete Solutions alone is what we call, it's using semantic SEO. We have the keywords in the right places, and the site design is a lot more of a professional site, especially with these high ticket niches, like not only just conversions, but remember, Google is starting to use machine learning to weed out lower aesthetic sites. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see the difference. We're not just randomly writing these words either. I understand the value of entity search now with Google's algorithm. Google just isn't matching keywords. It's now reading through your content and making sure and measuring how high quality your content is. Like how in-depth is your content? We're breaking down commercial concrete services. We don't just talk about stamped concrete patterns. We talk about the different types of stamped concrete patterns, color concrete options. We talk about the different colors. So the more in-depth you can make your content, the more favorably Google will begin treating your site. And like any business model, this business model is getting more competitive than it was 10 years ago. So you do need to understand SEO at a deeper level to be able to get the rankings in a lot of these cities now. And I believe this is what separates me from Nick or other people trying to teach this model, is that I'm somebody that took my SEO skills to much higher levels by building and ranking also ePay.com that ranks global search terms. In the last 1.5 years alone, I went to 2 different countries for an SEO conference, and one was an SEO mastermind. It was only of the top 30 of the world's best SEOs were there. Some people were doing SEOs for casino companies. Years years ago, I was only building a site with 5 to 10 pages, which is what I can see with this Nick student's site that only has 5, 6, 8 pages. Whereas if you see my Glendale concrete site, I have 20 to 30 service pages. And I also have 20 to 30 sub-city pages, which hidden from the menu. This is also because I understand more SEO ranking factors such as building a topical authority. And I'm not saying that Nick's program doesn't work or anything. I'm sure successful students, that's the amazing thing about this business model, is that there's so many small businesses out there and they all need leads. So even with Nick's sort of sales heavy approach, you can still find success. However, in my personal view, ranking with organic and Google is only going to get harder and harder over time. And I'm somebody that just has more experience in SEO, in ranking these sites, because I've ranked hundreds of these sites. Plus, I rank globally for search terms. So I can teach my students how to do the right things to get the rankings, but also teach you why things work the way they do with Google's algorithm. And when you can begin to understand the why, you're going to have that much more confidence when you pick your city and niche to be able to properly analyze the competition and see where they're weak at, and know that you can capitalize on their weakness and know that you'll have a site that'll outrank them in the next 3 to 6 months. Right now, we're starting to generate a lot of phone calls for my construction company in Los Angeles, where they had to hire 2 new people to answer the phones in the last week. And many of these sites, we don't even have a GBP. I have built my own lead gen dashboard here where you can buy any local phone number. I also have my own click and drag web builder. And I also created templates that you guys can use that ensures that you guys are putting the right keywords in the right places, and a template that actually looks professional and that's gonna convert, that's gonna keep people on the page longer than as opposed to if you have a site that looks very basic, people are not gonna stay on that site as long, which Google is tracking through Google's Chrome data, which all becomes a ranking factor. And I'm building a thing where every call that you generate, obviously it's all recorded, but you'll be able to API connect into your client's CRM so that if you decide to do a lucrative commission deal, you know exactly which of your leads got closed and how much you should get paid on that each and every month with full transparency with your client. And this is the next evolution of the rank and rent and the lead generation business that I'm taking this to, which is finding elite A+ companies, generating lucrative leads for them, getting paid commissions on autopilot, where one job can make you $600, $1,000, which is what some of these smaller lead gen sites make in a whole month. And because every lead is tracked and it's connected to your client's CRM, there's no concerns of if the client's screwing you over, and they're happy because they can clearly see which leads were yours, and they can see at the end of every month how much their revenue has grown because of your leads. To me, I'm all about creating this win-win relationship, and you can scale that business to multiple 7 figures. You're not going to be able to do that with a towing company or a pool cleaner. These niches I don't really even go into anymore. I deal with higher ticket construction type of companies. So if you're somebody that's been looking into the rank and rent business model, again, I've ranked and rented many websites in my day, but in 2026, I choose to focus on more high ticket commission-based lead generation. Then click a link on the description and find out more info about why I believe my model is superior to the basic rank and rent model.